Track installation. In this video, we will cover the proper leveling and installation of the track for a Pipp mobile storage system. The track must be properly leveled and aligned for the system to operate as intended. Placing the first track. Your first track must be installed 1.5 inches out from any extrusion from the wall. This could be junction boxes, beams, door frames, etc. To ensure this, measure your largest extrusion and add 1.5 inches to that measurement. In this case, we have a junction box that sticks out 2 inches from the wall, so our track needs to be 3.5 inches from the wall. Measure at 2 points and snap a chalk line 3.5 inches from the wall. That line represents the wall edge of the first track. Now we need to locate the end point of the track run. Get the length of the track from the installation drawings and measure the depth of any stationary shelving unit that will be installed at the end. In this case, we are dealing with a 13-foot track run and 24-inch deep stationary shelving unit. This gives us a total distance of 15 feet. Measure that distance from the wall, mark the spot, and snap a second chalk line perpendicular to the first chalk line you created. That line will indicate the end of all of the tracks in the installation. Now, position your first track at the corner of the 2 chalk lines. Start this run with a shorter piece of aluminum, being sure to start with the factory cut end of the track. Once this first piece of aluminum is down, complete the entire length of aluminum with full-size pieces of track and go back and install the steel rail. Always start in the same corner with an 8-foot-long steel insert so that the joints in the aluminum tracks and the joints in the steel inserts are staggered. Lay in the steel inserts, making sure the holes in the 2 layers of track are aligned. Shimming the first piece of track. When you are certain the joints are staggered, you're ready to shim the track. Do this by looking along the track for gaps between the track and the floor where the floor dips down. If you find one of these gaps, you will need to use shims to level the track. When a gap has been identified, measure the length of the gap. Cut a piece of shim material to match the length of the depression in the floor. Slide the shim under the track. Put your weight on the track above the shim. If the track dips down under your weight, you will need to add a second or even third shim as just described. When the track no longer dips when you apply pressure to it, you have correctly cut and placed all your shims. Slide your shims back out, apply adhesive, and put them back under the track. Drill through the track into the floor, making sure you have at least one fastener going through each individual shim, and fasten the shims and track to the floor. Once all the shimming is done, fasten the entire run of track to the floor. Fastening the track to the floor. Fasten the track to the floor by drilling through the holes in the track into the floor and fastening the track down with a track anchor. When drilling into the floor, be sure to step on the track so the vibration from the drill isn't misaligning your track. Once the hole is drilled, be sure to remove any debris. Then place a number 2 Phillips sleeve anchor into the hole, stabilize it, and then pound it in. Using a drill motor, tighten down the anchor, but make sure your drill motor has the clutch set to a 14 or 15 to avoid over-tightening and stripping the anchor. Positioning the rest of the track. When positioning the next row of track, you need to stagger the pieces of aluminum in a new formation so the joints in adjacent tracks are staggered. Be sure the shortest piece of track in each run ends with the factory cut edge on the end of the run. When you add the steel inserts to the track, make sure the joints between the steel inserts and the joints between the pieces of aluminum track remain staggered. Do not begin fastening down the track though. Instead, once you have all the track in place, but again not fastened down, put a carriage on the back row of the track that is fastened down and lower the carriage into place. When the carriage is on the floor, adjust the tracks as needed so that they line up with the wheels on the carriage. Once you have the track adjusted, get on the carriage on your hands and knees, being sure to place your weight on both your hands and knees, and roll the carriage up and down the track. This will adjust the location of the unfastened track slightly so that the carriage rolls smoothly. At this point, again before any other track is bolted down, place all of the carriages on the track and build all the shelving units on top of them. Rolling all of the carts around on the track this way will make sure all of the track is in place and properly supported before it is fastened down. Roll this loaded cart up and down the tracks. If everything works properly, shim the tracks as needed. Attach the shims to the floor as you did for the first row of track, and then attach the track to the floor just as you did for the first row. For more instructional videos, visit www.pippmobile.com/howto.